Welcome back to this Sunday edition of Sports Live. We continue to chat all things sport, and this time around we take a look at tennis, where Tennis South Africa is currently hosting the WIPHOLD International tournament at the University of Pretoria. We also reflect on the event, looking at the state of tennis in the country. And of course, joining us to discuss more on these issues is Tennis South Africa President Gavin Crookes, who is joining us via Zoom. A very good evening to you, Gavin, and of course, welcome to Sports Live.
Thank you so much. It's really a great pleasure to be here this evening, and good evening to all your viewers.
I mean, it saddens me, Gavin, that we need to start this conversation by talking about the unfortunate incident that took place and it affected you directly this past weekend. What happened to your vehicle?
Yeah, sadly, my vehicle wasn't in its parking bay when I exited a meeting on Friday evening at the Taki Sports Centre in Pretoria. And the inconvenience and everything that goes with having one's vehicle stolen. Unfortunately, my laptop computer and a whole lot of other personal items were included in that. And so that's the reason why I'm having to use my mobile phone to actually chat to everyone this evening. But I think the main thing is safe and sound, and the event has been incredibly successful. And the second week of the W50 started today in terms of the qualifying event. Sure. But thank you for asking. Thank you for asking.
No, it truly is heartbreaking, and we needed to bring this to the fore, because just before the ad break, we were also talking about, just a crime and how it has riddled this country, looking at what happened to the Boxing South Africa chief financial officer who was gunned down in his driveway, and now the Tennis South Africa president's car has been stolen. These are the issues that we really don't want to be talking about, but we need to bring to the fore. And it breaks my heart that we now need to move to this, but we truly are sorry about that incident, and thank you for making means to still commit to this interview. We are talking about Tennis South Africa, of course, currently hosting the WIPHOLD International tournament in Pretoria. How important is it to organize an event of this magnitude?
This is an incredibly important event. It's 2 weeks of events, so there are 2 consecutive weeks of W50s. The total prize money for each week is $40,000. And this really gives tennis players, or particularly the up-and-coming and our lady tennis players in South Africa, the opportunity to participate at this level of international event. Just to give everyone a little bit of a comparison, the equivalent in the men's tour is the Challenger Tour. So that's one below the World Tour. These tournaments are one below the WTA Tour events, and these are very much considered to be development events that are really looking to focus on up-and-coming lady tennis players and stars of the future. So when you look at who's participating from around the world, these are potentially the future lady tennis stars of the future in the world tennis professional arena. It's really a fantastic opportunity, as I've said, for our South African young ladies to participate. They then see the standard of tennis that they're required to meet. And can I say this last week, the first event, really, I think, ticked that box, in that we had 4 lady tennis players, one of whom made the quarterfinals. And then we had 2 players who made it through to the second round. So, from that perspective, the investment that we've been making in ladies tennis over the last number of years, and in particular with the support of WIPHOLD, that's focused on our ladies squads, high-performance squads, and this is now the 3rd year that they are the sponsor, or the main sponsor, for these 2 weeks of events. It starts to show that there's some return on the capital expended.
Absolutely. I want us to talk about those notable performances, especially from the likes of Isabella Kruger and, of course, Lilita Ndungane. Maybe if you can just break it down for us, how they performed, especially in this first week that is done and dusted.
So Kruger made it to the quarterfinals, which is a really fantastic achievement. Just so that everyone also understands, with those achievements, depending on how deep you go into the event, that gives you international ranking points, which in turn has the knock-on effect in terms of your future planning of how and where you want to play tennis in professional tournaments. That certainly assists you hugely in terms of where you end up in the draw, whether you need to play qualifying rounds and the like. And then the other player, she made it through to the second round, which was an absolutely fantastic achievement as far as Tennis South Africa is concerned, because it's also critically important that black women start achieving, because we all need role models as such. So it's been absolutely fantastic in that respect. And well done to those two players. Obviously, there have been a couple of other players. Caitlin Ramden has been doing very well, and although she lost in the first round, she's a really up-and-coming young player that we all need to watch as well. So, as I said earlier, it's about getting access to events like this, making sure that we're providing opportunities, and that the players are starting to achieve, which means that the investment that we're making is starting to bear some fruits.
And the great news, of course, is that SABC is broadcasting this event. How important is it to get coverage on the public broadcaster, which is, of course, free to air?
And absolutely, it's critically important, because sponsors want to see that their investment is being publicised and that they're getting mileage. And what's equally important, as I've just said, it's about developing role models, and the fact that we're looking to invigorate tennis in the junior ranks and get people, or get players, both men and women, playing in the professional circuit. You need role models, and these kind of achievements inspire young people to take up tennis and to further their careers.
And South Africa, of course, recently clinched a 3-2 win over Vietnam, which earned them promotion in their Davis Cup World Group 2 playoff. So what does this mean for the progress of tennis in this country?
So that elevates us, or that particular tie against Vietnam resulted in us being promoted into the World Group 2 division of the Davis Cup, and we have been drawn to play Lebanon the week after the US Open, which is the second week of September. And, once again, it's critical in terms of how we see the future of tennis in South Africa and increasing the awareness of tennis in South Africa. It's about developing role models, and, Davis Cup is one of the biggest world events that happens every year. There's something like 222 countries that participate in both the Davis Cup and in the Billie Jean King Cup, which is the women's equivalent. So, ultimately, if you want to become the world champions of tennis, you need to get into the world group. So, if we're able to win our tie against Lebanon in September, that will then result in us having a promotion tie in February 2025. And if we win that tie, we then into Group 1 in September. And if we win that, there's a whole process. We could, somewhere around about 2027, we could be playing in the World Group. But as I say, we're not going to run ahead of things. We take each point, we take each set, and we take each match as it comes. So it's all about awareness. It's all about being winners and participation. And Tennis South Africa's mission is about seeing somebody play tennis somewhere every day, and that's what it's all about.
All right. Okay. So when exactly then are they going to be announcing our opponents in Group 2, and when are those next matches going to be played?
So as I've just said, our next tie is against Lebanon in September, and we are playing away in Lebanon, and that's where the team will be competing.
Okay.
And I'm quite sure that the SABC will be giving us the coverage that we need.
Absolutely. And of course, South Africa's Tristan Summers, he emerged victorious in the 2023 Boys Under 11, which is the Little Mo International Championships, which were held in Florida. And the rising star has now secured the singles title and the doubles title, which is fantastic. The tournament showcases the youngest and most talented stars in junior tennis worldwide and throughout the years, and has produced famous tennis professionals such as Andy Roddick and, of course, Coco Gauff. What does this achievement, when we look at the spectrum of South Africa, then mean in the bigger scheme of things?
Well, it once again, it underlines that we in South Africa, we've got the talent. We've got the talent. We've got the players who have the ability to go to the top. You know, I think our biggest challenge that we face in South Africa is money. And just to give you an example, we have a number of players that sort of are on and around the cusp of thinking about turning professional. And, you know, the annual cost of each one of those players participating in international events, being and all the rest of it, is in the region of 2 million rand each. And that's a conservative figure. So I think, that gives you the kind of idea of what investment is needed.
Yeah.
You know, it's not all about talent. You know, we've always believed, and we know that we have the talent. There's no question about that. And it's about being able to support the up and coming players in financially. It's about having entry level tournaments like these 2 weeks of W50 events in Pretoria. It's about having futures events where both men and women can participate in, so that they can get ranking points and the like. But tennis, like any individual sport, is an incredibly expensive sport to play, and that's the reality. And it's something that we continue to work on. It's not only specific to South Africa, let me tell you that. You know, I think everyone's aware of the fact that I serve I'm the chairman of the Independent Audit and Risk Committee of the International Tennis Federation, and one of the biggest risks that tennis sees is the financial constraints that effectively end up excluding many players from, in fact, following a professional career in tennis. So yeah, that's where it is, and we just keep our heads down and carry on working.
Tennis South Africa President, thank you so much there to Gavin Crookes. And of course, in terms of Gavin, you know, we were actually just going to touch on that, you know, the funding and how it's become such a major problem, especially when you look at minor sports like tennis and what it means in terms of them running their programs. But I'm glad that he has touched on that, and it would be great for corporates to come through and make sure that they do fund the likes of tennis.